e-Commuters mit 3 Herstellern, die an elektrischen Commuter Aircraft arbeiten, und von daher, da werden wir ein bisschen mehr Diskussion haben. Ich hoffe, wir haben am Ende noch ein bisschen Zeit, sodass Sie dann sich schon vielleicht mal Fragen überlegen können, was Sie noch mehr interessiert, um in die Tiefe gehen zu können. Okay.
And with this, I think I already give the word to Gregor from MD Aircraft to see your electric aircraft. I know the company quite a while, and I was really surprised when I heard that you're also working on an electric commuter. So you kept silent for quite a while.
Does it work? No, it works. So thank you very much, Willi, for the short introduction. I'm very happy to be here at the session on the stage to give you a short introduction on our e-Commuter MDA1 e-Aviator, which is an eco-friendly, cost-effective, high-performance, 10-seater commuter, multi-purpose commuter aircraft. And it is very important to know that it is 100% fully driven by battery. And to be honest, battery-powered aircraft are now and already certifiable according to EASA CS23 level 3 regulations. So we will meet the target to have 2030 our aircraft certified deliverable to our customers. And you have to know that 70% of the missions flying in the regional air mobility are less than 300 kilometers, and the power density we have on board is affordable to cover these requirements. And therefore, these multi-purpose commuter for passenger cargo and surveillance applications is the best aircraft to re-energize and revitalize the regional aviation. And to be honest, those who offer emission-free mobility will get emission-free mobility. But the main question is, how should the mobility of the future look like? There was a survey done by the Zukunftsinstitute in the course of last year. They figured out subsequent results. The mobility of the future is individual and extremely flexible. The future of the mobility of the future is increasing on demand, uses sharing concepts, is partially or fully autonomous, and is, of course, sustainable and decarbonized. And the main characteristics are short waiting and short travel and short transport times. And if I ask you, can you imagine that the current mobility by car, buses or railways is affordable to cover these requirements? I'm quite sure that everybody of you will say no. And the sky is unlimited. There's the best way to come very, very fast on short notice from A to B. And therefore this is a big, big chance for the regional air mobility with the right aircraft to solve this problem, to offer a mobility concept which will be very crucial for our future for the regional aviation. You need to have the right aircraft. The MDA e-Aviator is 10-seated, single-pilot, double-engine. It is designed for passenger and cargo applications. We have a maximum payload at the moment of 920 kilograms. The certification, once it is done by EASA, is really immediately transferable to FAA and to China as well. We have low noise emissions, less than 60 dBA, and we have stall characteristics. And we would be able to start and land on rugged and unpaved airstrips, which gives us the possibility to serve destinations in the out in the areas where we have really bad conditions to start and to land. And the most important thing is we have a power bay under the wing, which gives us a possibility to swap out the batteries, to re-energize and revitalize. That is our target. I show you some selection of areas which are already served by 10 seater class commuters, and these are the regions where we available and possible to substitute current flying combustion engine aircrafts. And here I show you some regions in Germany where we have a lot of possibilities to start and to land from A to B. We can connect with the e-Commuter aircraft very soon and very fast people to go from A to B and can recover these requirements on the future of mobility. What is the status at the moment? We are going to start and to certify a 100% battery-powered aircraft. This is the reason why it is certifiable, as I have already mentioned. 2026 we will have the first demonstrator on start. At the end of Q4 we are ready to take off, and latest at 2030 we are prepared to start the deliveries of our aircraft to our customers. But we are also prepared with this nacelle architecture to bring in hydrogen and fuel cell systems once they are certifiable. We have just heard in the previous section it will take a lot of time, and therefore it is absolutely necessary that we will start 100% battery powered. Due to the fact that we have swappable batteries, we are all ready to offer a range of 400 nautical miles, which if we start from the center of Germany, not the center of Germany, but the capital of Germany, from Berlin, we would be able to cover a big, huge area of Europe. This is a really unique advantage, I would say, from our approach to solve that problem. But to be honest, the aircraft is not the one and only. It's, from our point of view, a triad. You need to have the operators, but I'm quite sure due to the fact our aircraft is up to 60% in the operation cost less than the comparable 10-seater aircraft with combustion engines. So the operator will take this aircraft once it is available, and you need to have an infrastructure on the airfields and the regional airports. And it is only to charge batteries. So this is already an existing system coming from the cars. So it's available. So this is also solved. But from our point of view, on here we are a little bit different to Ivor from Vaeridion. We had a discussion on that yesterday. From my point of view, it is very, very important to have a reliable supply chain on the important parts for that kind of aircraft, and that means motor and batteries. But the number of aircrafts we will have in the future will give them also a good opportunity to start a reliable business. And the future potential, once we have the aircraft certified, we are going to start to bring it to IFR. We will do a de-icing, pressurized cabin, survey equipment. Due to the fact, if once you have an aircraft certified, it is only still a major change, and this requires not too much time to start from the white sketch for these characteristics. Then we will scale up the MDA-1 to a 19-seater on the CS-23, and the next step is a 30-seat aircraft according to CS-25 rules. So jump on board, and we are ready for takeoff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gregor. And I think we've seen your design of the aircraft seems to be quite conventional. You like a twin engine with one motor right, one motor left, 9 seats. So Ivor, your design of the aircraft is slightly different. We talked about that. You're going to show us a video of what is the vision of Vaeridion, and then you can explain us on the base of the video maybe what is your unique sales points of your aircraft. And where I'm most interested is what is also your timeline, because this is something we heard also in the discussion before. When can I jump in Vaeridion and fly over to, let's say, Berlin?
So I think the main characteristics you could see in the video, it's a high wing, high aspect ratio wing 9-seat aircraft as well. One big characteristic is the single propeller, but still multi-engine. Actually, electrification is one of the enablers to have multiple engines on one shaft, because electric engines are mechanically much simpler and smaller. And it gives you the advantage of having the reliability of a twin, but the handling qualities of a single propeller and the efficiency as well. The aircraft will be pressurized, and one of the main characteristics of our concept is that we want to use a general aviation platform, CS-23 certification, but use it in a commercial air transport use case. And one of the enablers is also the low operating cost. I think those who are familiar with driving electric, or especially electric commercial vehicles, you see a lot of operation cost benefits. So now, a seat on a 9-seat aircraft can cost the same as maybe a 100-seat regional jet. So normal travelers who would fly domestically maybe can also now fly in an acceptable pricing level on a 9-seat aircraft. And I think Friedrichshafen is a perfect example. We have a nice city, we have industry, we have an airport, we have no more scheduled services. But now, with a smaller platform, you don't need 200 passengers to make it economically viable to start operating between Friedrichshafen and maybe Stuttgart again, or Bamberg, or into Switzerland. Indeed, one difference that you pointed out, we charge in between. We have a high level of integration between the battery and the wing. This is bringing a big benefit if we have the heavy items in the lift generating parts of the aircraft, but also therefore the packing factor is quite intense, so the only time you would change the battery is during a maintenance interval due to aging. But then of course, if new battery technology comes along, and there's a lot of investment going on in the world in this topic, you can increase the range over its lifetime. So like a good wine, in time it only becomes better.
Okay, thank you, and we leave some time for discussion later. So now we have again totally different concept, and you'll see it here. Actually, it would also fit to Friedrichshafen, like you say, because we have the big lake here, and but it's coming from another part in Europe. And Susan, give us an idea what Noemi shall be. I know you've worked with different companies on the renewable and green flying already. So what's new with Noemi?
First of all, thank you for having me here. I know it's really for Erik Letton, who is the CEO of the Norwegian company e-flight. That's the way how they pronounce it in Norwegian, not e-flight. So I'm not Norwegian, but I do work for e-flight as a board member. So it's a very flat organization, just like all the startup, right? Even the board member have to work. But I've retired from Ampere. Like many of you probably knew me from Ampere, which is an American company, and I retired last December. And so e-flight is one of my hats right now. I have another hat for another startup. But let me just share some of the latest with you on Naomi. But before that, let me just give you a quick intro of it. Can anyone guess places like this one and places like this one, what do they have in common? They're all places we want to go, right? But what they have in common is that they're both, and all these places are ideal for seaplanes or amphibian airplanes, right? Except we don't have any new amphibian airplanes. These airplanes, this is Twin Otter, by the way, for many years, designed many years ago. And so, as many years ago, typically, there were a lot of these amphibian or seaplanes that can fly, and really for commercial purposes, for cargo, for passengers, they're critical for the services. Today, only in very limited places, such as in Seattle, Vancouver, or Maldives, you see these services, but you don't see it every day, everywhere. And so, why is that? Why is that the total number of seaplanes are not like the total number of the regular regional airplanes? This is why. Corrosion. So not only those older airplanes were made by metal, and so they corrode, but also the engines, you know, with sucking the salt water, and so really that corrosion is a big problem. But you can fix things, right? So what does that mean? Your maintenance costs really is going up the sky roof, right? So corrosion is a big barrier for any more seaplanes. And so thankfully, we have technologies. Not only we have technologies, but the new electric revolution. So the very smart team for Norway, they came together and put the new technologies together for this new airplane, inspired by these really admired old airplanes, such as the Albatross, the Mallard, but they were from years ago. But with these new technologies, this Norwegian team came together and created Naomi. It's no emission. What a beautiful name, right? And so this is really going to be the world's very first all-electric amphibians seaplane for commercial purposes. And we all know that Norwegian government is very aggressive in terms of renewable energy. And so there's an aggressive goal to have all short-haul flights to be 100% electric by 2040. That is not far away. And so with this kind of aggressive goal, the government is also helping out in terms of financial support, right? So that's the most important. Developed airplane takes a lot of resources, not just the very enthusiastic people, but also with monetary resources. And so this Norwegian company, e-flight, or e-flight, has a vision to provide the global network of quiet, no-emission seaplanes connecting cities and islands sustainably. And so we mentioned cities and islands, and many cities, even though they don't have seaplanes right now, they're right by the ocean, right by the lakes, right by the river, because in the olden days, the rivers are super highways, right? So this is the vision. And the team consists of currently 30 plus employees, and they even put my picture there. It's a very flat organization, as I had mentioned. But 14 different nationalities for 30 people. So this is a very diverse, amazing team with experiences, you know, with all those logos that you can see from the bottom. Lots of experiences, very diverse from all around the world, all the talents. And so we've been working on this for the past 6 years. From the concept development. This is one of the earlier models that we put together. And in fact, we're having a prototype, a scaled down prototype that is going to fly this month, next month. And so we'll really have a demonstration in the near future. And so amphibious, this is a really enormous market, not just those what you call a niche market right now that you see in Seattle or in Maldives. Because the fact with the new technologies, this is really enabling many cities, many islands that we can imagine around the world with this market. So we can go into that in a little more detail on the market. So why now? Because more than 50 years there hasn't been any innovations, or because of the technologies, because of the development cost and everything. But the commercial opportunities now are really there. And especially with the government that's willing to support, in this case, the Norwegian government. And I think more than Norwegian, a lot of the European governments, and except for the US government now, is really going for the sustainability. So you can see the years of these older airplanes that are now flying, including the Cessna Caravan, that was from back in the 80s. So Naomi is going to be 2027 when it starts flying. And so there's a huge existing seaplane market, but not huge enough like the regional mobility market. Altogether about 13 billion that is in existing New York City, Maldives, Seattle, and in the Nordics there's some, Denmark and so on. But people would say this is still niche, even though it's 13 billion. But as I was briefing some investors in China, for example, I was briefing just land airplanes, fixed wing, and they were saying, Susan, why don't you come with, because China, there's only like around 300 airports, right? Even though it's such a huge country of 1.4 billion people. They say, well, why don't you come with a seaplane or amphibious? Because you have the whole coast of these huge cities. Each city, even if each city just take 20 or something, you have your market made, right? From Hong Kong, Macau, all the way up to Shanghai, Beijing, and so on. And so there's really a whole world of opportunities out there, and that, really is connecting to the regional air mobility. And so if we can develop all those areas, all those countries, Scotland, Greece, the Caribbeans, and Indonesia, 30,000 islands and so on, this is a huge opportunity, especially for electric airplanes now, where the range is somewhat limited by the first generation of the batteries. So with that, I will save the time for questions. Happy to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Susan. If somebody had a question, we have a mic here. Xin, my editor of the Flying China magazine, he will help you to ask a question. I have some questions already in the beginning. Just to the last speaker, Susan. So the plan will be Norway first, and then from Norway going around the world.
The world, yes.
Okay. Have you also considered any hybrid solution with the aircraft?
Yes. That's why I got involved with them, because I was working with Ampere, of course.
Okay, so, and this would be like you was working with Ampere in the first place, a combustion engine combined with electric, and then going later maybe to fuel cell, or?
No, the first is all electric.
Mainly
for the reason, because first of all, for the seaplanes, the range requirement is really not as much as regular regional airplanes. And secondly, the corrosion is really a big deal. So you really don't want that into the combustion engine.
Okay. So other question to you two, have you considered making an amphib or a seaplane out of your plane? Because when you have the plane ready, maybe would be something interesting. So Ivor first, then Gregor second.
So the short answer is no, because we are really focusing on the big market opportunity that is given by the large amount of regional airports, which are typically in very urbanized regions, and then to optimize range, we have a retractable landing gear. Wouldn't rule out it might be possible to make a version, but I think with the plans from Elfly, and by the way, I know Thomas Broderskrift since 2007. That is a vision that is coming also from the market in Norway with the coastal cities where connectivity is already over the water. So that I think is very complementary, and I think deserves its own specific design. And we will definitely do a land-based aircraft.
And Gregor, as you're planning also to fly, as I think to fly to the islands, maybe in northern Germany, where you're also located, have you considered an amphib version?
Yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
But not already yet. We want to concentrate on our first aircraft, MD-1 e-Leader, as I have shown you, and to be honest, stall characteristics are perfect fitting with floaters, and as Susan has mentioned, it's really an interesting market for us, and to be honest, if you have a look on all the figures, there is enough space for all three of us, due to the fact we have different approaches, and I'm quite sure that is enough demand outside for all three of us. I'm totally convinced on that.
That brings me to the next question, talking about demand, talking about markets. Where, again, 1, 2, 3, where do you think will be the first markets in the world where this kind of aircraft will fly? Will it be Asia? Will it be Europe? Or will it be States, where we have the largest market of conventional aircraft commuting in the country at the moment?
So I think the first country is probably Norway or Denmark. As Susan pointed out, governments there have the topic on the agenda, and also the population is very progressive with electrification. And there's a large number of subsidized domestic routes, because if in the remote regions people need to visit a bigger hospital, they are depending on the air connection. So definitely Northern Europe. Also, I think we should be very mindful of certification. And in Europe, we have EASA, which is very advanced in regulations for the new propulsion type. So I think it will start in this continent. But you're right, Willi, in the United States, people are much more used to flying with commuters. I think 30 years ago it was even widespread. And it will also come back there once we have a type certificate, I'm sure.
Okay, Gregor?
Really, that is really a good question, and I'm just kidding now. The operator who wants to pay the most money for the first aircraft delivered, this is the country where the MDA e-Leader will the first flight have. Okay. But to be honest, we are 100% German company. We start our production, or we want to produce this aircraft 100% in the northern part of Germany. And of course, we are highly interested to have these aircraft flying in nearby our company. It's a promotion matter. But to be honest, as Susan and Ivor have already mentioned, North America is an interesting market, and our aircraft is designed, and it is possible to put it disassembled in a 45 feet container to transfer it to North America or to Asia as well. So we are prepared to serve the global market.
Okay, but as you said, you want to produce it, you even said not in Germany, you said northern Germany. So you even exclude the Bavarians from the production's reliable production source. No, just kidding. Susan, what do you think, market? Because you have experience also in the Asian market, you've seen the dynamic there in the low altitude economy. We've seen that the first certified Part 23 aircraft is from China, flying here in Europe. So where do you think the first aircraft can fly with a type certificate of this kind?
I think that the practical question is a type certificate here, right? And I think China really has the ambition to do that. However, the Norwegian government really wants to see this work. So I agree with Ivor, actually. It's going to be in the Nordics. However, they have to work with EASA, and that's But I think they're reasonable because by the time this is going to be certified, you already have smaller airplanes because there's quite a few smaller airplanes, Part 23 small airplanes that are already in front of that, certified before. So I think the rules are going to be more mature, not like when Pipistrel was certified, right? So it's going to be better.
And so also EASA will learn with certifying the first airplanes first, because we've seen several. That the first electric motor of Safran has been certified, so there is progress being made. Another question, there was this just also a little bit provocative question, because we just before had the session on eVTOLs, and about 6-7 years ago, when everybody was talking about eVTOL, and the people actually asked me when I told them there, I visited, aren't they I just read in the newspaper they're flying already service. It was about volocopter at some point. They're flying service in Singapore, I'm quite sure they're not. And so what do you think about VTOL to conventional aircraft and to especially CTOL? Because I think, let's say, CTOL, like explaining, short takeoff and landing, for this kind of aircraft gives you a more wide spectrum where you can operate. You can operate maybe from short grass strips, you can operate from shorter runways, so you can reach much more destinations. So, first part, what do you think on VTOL? Can be quick. Second, is your aircraft CTOL, or why is it not CTOL? And what you consider CTOL? So it's always a little bit a question of definition as well. So I would start with Susan this time, and then we go back here.
Yeah, so this is a very relevant question, because when I went to meet with the investors in China, for example, the first question is, why aren't you not building an eVTOL instead of an eCTOL? And so for the West, it's a question about infrastructure and rules, because flying the low-level eVTOLs will require the heliport, and you have all kinds of operational issues. But in China, because they haven't really opened the airspace, and they're opening the airspace, so it makes sense. However, I would think that still there's so many unsolved questions there. eCTOL is going to be earlier in operations than eVTOLs. That's not to say in China they're already operating, eHang and also Autoflight and so on. They're going to operate, but very limited.
Ivor?
Yeah, I don't know why we need to talk about eVTOLs at all, really. You just had a whole panel, and that's great. But I think Professor Florian Holzapfel just made the most important remark. Innovation takes step by step. So we're not going to reinvent flight physics. We have a plane, it has a wing, everyone can see it's an airplane. And then we electrify it with the new technology, and therefore maybe some of the shapes are a little bit different because they're optimized. And we saw the same with road vehicles. The first successful electric car looked like a car, had 4 wheels, steering wheel, maybe a bit more aerodynamic, and you could drive 300 kilometers on one charge, and then people start to buy it. We'll not name the brand because it's no longer appropriate to say the brand. But it's a normal airplane, so eCTOL, conventional takeoff and landing. I think the regular visitors of Vaeridion AERO, they come here since years to see planes with wings, and that's what we do.
Okay, Gregor?
Yeah, once again, really, this is an interesting question, and due to the fact that we are going to develop a fixed-wing aircraft, it is clear that we don't think that eVTOLs can solve the problems. And the reason why we have started stall characteristic is based on an extensive market survey, and due to the fact that we have said we want to produce the VW bus for the air, but at the moment it is not so easy to use VW for advertisement. So that is the reason why we have stopped that. And due to the fact that it is a multi-purpose commuter, passenger and cargo, it is pretty clear if you want to serve rugged rural areas, you need to have stall characteristics. That is the reason why I've decided e-stall.
Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, we are out of time now. So if there is no question here, there is a question. Xin?
To every of your three, what is the cost of your program, and your program, and what is the cost of the airplane which you want to sell?
Counter question, do you want to invest or do you want to buy an airplane?
How much of the programs collapse in airplanes area? So I ask, it is $1 million or $1 billion?
It depends, especially now with all the tariffs and so on that's going on. Because just like automotive, right, the components and everything come from many different parts of the world. Airplanes are even more global. This is really going to change the world, by all those tariffs going. But for example, in Naomi, I think some of the sourcing is going to be in China, and because there's some favorable trades with China from Europe, not from the US. But if you buy or sell from US, it could be really So if you're investing, I think the final cost is going to be at least in the order of hundreds of millions. But in terms of per airplane or per ship cost, that's going to be in tens or 20s of million.
So between 10 and 20 million for per plane in the beginning?
Yes, I would think. I mean,
Okay.
but I may be wrong.
No, we won't. No.
Because with Trump doing all this tariff gains right now, it's really going to...
Let's all think Trump wouldn't exist for a moment.
You wish.
And then what would be the price? And we will see, because they took back the tariffs on Europe just for 90 days again. So maybe we talk about the more serious world and just look where it's going. So 10 to 20. So what do you think, Ivor? So your program, if you disclose your program cost and the aircraft cost.
I think I'm going to answer. So maybe the more interesting question is what drives a program cost? And it's essentially certification cost. So what drives certification? It's a probability of something going very wrong. And for large commercial aircraft, the probability you have to reach is 10 to the minus 9. So 1 in a billion chance something really wrong happens. And CS25 or Part 25 development is in the order of several billion. Can be 1, can be 10, can be many billions. And in the CS23 world where we are in, especially up to the 9 seats, we are in a regime where you have to demonstrate up 10 to the minus 8, so 1 in 100 billion of something going very wrong. Doesn't mean that the aircraft is 10 times less safe, but it means that the effort to prove this reliability is 10 times smaller. So if a large commercial aircraft program costs 8 billion, then maybe an aircraft in our category is roughly order of magnitude 10 times smaller cost. So we are counting millions and not billions.
Okay, and the cost of the aircraft, you didn't answer.
Yeah, you can PM me later and then I'll give you a prospect.
Okay, so I have to wait a while until I get a price quote.
So now it's my task to display the figures. Yeah, I would say tremendous less than Lilium and Waller Copper has burned money, and it is really tremendous less for the total program. and what are the costs for an aircraft. It depends what you want to have. That is really a question. And if you go to the colleagues from offering combustion engine in the same size, we are pretty aligned these costs of this kind of aircraft. But it depends if you want to have leather seats and so on.
So you would say if you have like a twin turboprop engine aircraft with the same capacity, you would be aligned with this price more or less?
Totally.
Okay, so we heard the show is closed. Thank you very much for being here. You want to know more about electric flying and eVTOL? Just go to your browser, type e-flight-journal.com, click enter, and you arrive at our blog site of E-Flight Journal with all the latest news on electric and eVTOL flying around the world. If you want to read the PDF or printed version of the latest E-Flight Journal, click on the button next to the image on top. You arrive on a site where you see the latest version. You can flip through the pages in small or enlarge, and then you can read it on the screen on your cell phone or tablet, wherever you want. If you want to read the magazine offline, click on the link below the image. You arrive on our Yumpu reader site, where you can either then flip through the pages again and read the magazine, or download the paper. You can save it anywhere on your computer or cell phone and then read it whenever and wherever you want. If you want to read another issue of E-Flight Journal, just scroll down on the Yumpu site and you will see the older issues of the magazine. Just click on it. After you clicked on it, you can then download this other magazine or immediately read it in the reader again. Just flip through the pages and enjoy all the news on electric flying, from flight reports to government information and technical information on all details. If you like it, subscribe the magazine and you will receive the updates on a regular basis. Thanks and goodbye.